As many of you know, the items and the products that I review on this channel are inspired by what you all request. If there's a stove and there's enough interest, I'll purchase it and review it. If there's a tent that gets enough attention, I'll do the same thing. This is one of those tents. Over the last couple of years, I've had quite a few requests to check this out. What I have here today is the Night Cat Cot Tent. This isn't a review though, this is very much a preview. With that being said though, I do have some experience with this tent already, as I took it out the other night for a very wet and rainy and cool trip. While testing this tent out in extreme conditions, I've learned a few things that I will share with you all in this episode. Anyways, my friends, let's get to it. My name is Luke, this is the Outdoor Gear Review. Thank you very much for tuning in, and also, viewers, thank you so much for this recommendation. I do appreciate it. The first thing that I need to do is go ahead and set up this tent. Please know this. In this episode, I'm not going to go over the setup process because I want to focus on the tent and the cot primarily. I will have a dedicated setup video concerning this tent, going over every single feature, going over every single step to make the setup process nice, easy, and quick. That episode will be coming up very soon. As you all can see here, the tent has been set up. All in all, this is an easy process. It's an extensive process because you have to set up the cot and then the tent. It does take some time, but ultimately, it's nice and easy, it's straightforward. There's nothing that's going to confuse you or mess you up. With this system, you have the cot underneath, you have the tent on top. The tent attaches to the cot via straps. There's a strap in each corner that you can cinch up that holds it into place. From there, the tent has to be anchored to the ground, and you do that by the fly. Here at the door, at the other side, and you can also guy it out from the vents. There are 2 vents with this tent, one on each side. With this tent here, it has one door and you're looking at it. You have a storm flap that goes over the zipper, some Velcro at the bottom to hold the storm flap into place. With each of the door panels, you can roll these up and stow them out of the way. With the one panel tied up, you can see here that you do have some vestibule space. Walking around to the side here, you can see one of the vents. You can also see one of the tie-off points. This here is the other side, and you can see the vent, the tie-off point, and you are now looking at the back side of the tent. Again, looking at the front of the tent, you can see the doorway with the fly, and you can also see the tent inner. Taking a look at the inner for this tent, you can see that there is some fabric, but at the same time, we have ample amounts of mesh. On the sides, big sections, at the door, at the back, large sections of mesh. All of this mesh translates to excellent airflow. It also means excellent condensation control. We have one door with 2-way zippers, which you can roll up and stow. On the inside of the tent, you have no pockets at all. You do have one hanging hook, and that's it. Now that you all have seen what the inner looks like, let's talk about this cot for a second. When it comes to the cot, folks, let's go ahead and measure that real quick. It is 86 inches long. And it is 27 3/4 inches wide. Without the legs on it, it stands 8 inches. As I mentioned before, this cot without the legs stands 8 inches high. With the legs, it stands 16 inches high, which makes it high enough as a chair, as a seat. Sitting on the edge of the tent is not bad at all. If you move to the middle, it gives you a little bit more headroom, but for most people, they'll have to lean over some to prevent their head from rubbing the material. Let's go ahead and let's measure the inside of this tent. Realistically speaking, if you're under 6'6", this tent will work for you. We're looking at roughly 78 inches. The tent stands 33 inches tall at the peak, and it is 27 inches wide. This is certainly big enough for one person. Before going any further, everyone, let's go over some stats real quick. This is obviously a 3-season tent. It's a 1-person tent. There's 1 door, 2 vents. It comes in 2 shades of green and dark green. This is the regular green color, and it's pretty dark. I can't imagine what the dark green version is like. When it comes to the materials for this tent, you're looking at a PU-coated polyester taffeta. That's a 190T, and it features a 2,000 millimeter hydrostatic head rating. The Amazon listing does mention something about a ripstop nylon, but they do not state what that is. It could potentially be the top to the cot, but I don't know. We do have aluminum stakes, aluminum poles, and the weight of the entire kit is 12.5 pounds. The weight limit for the cot is 330 pounds. The cost for the entire system is $200 even at the time of filming. But let's say that you have a cot, right? But you don't have the tent. You do not have to buy the entire setup. You can buy just the tent if you're interested, and that is $100. With the stats out of the way, let's go back to my impressions concerning the shelter. First, let's talk about quality. All in all, the quality is good. I'm not going to say it's very good. It's certainly not great. It's good. This tent does have its fair share of loose threads all around it, on the fly, on the body, and also on the cot. Also, there is an issue here. One aspect to this tent has not been seam sealed, and that is the storm flap that goes over the zipper. Unfortunately, Night Cat did not get the inside of this seam sealed, which means in a heavy rain, water soaks through the stitching to the inside. With that being said, this tent is waterproof outside of that. I know that's a contradiction. Let me explain. I took this tent out for an overnight trip where it stormed and rained nonstop, right? I mean, it started in the afternoon, it lasted all night long, even in the morning, heavy, heavy rain. So the tent itself, right? It did not leak. The inner stayed dry. With this one line of stitching with the storm flap, water did soak through, and on the other side, it ran down the fly onto the ground. So this tent does leak, but at the same time, it's not a big deal because it doesn't interfere with the inner. My advice is this. If you plan on purchasing this tent, you like what you see here, as soon as you get it, seam seal this one stitch that goes over the storm flap. That will make this tent 100% waterproof. Outside of those 2 issues, this tent looks good. By the way, everyone, if you decide that you want to purchase this tent, you decide that you want to seam seal it, make sure to check out my video on how to seam seal a tent the right way. That video will make the entire process super simple. Seriously, it's a method that I've come up with. It works perfectly. No mess, no fuss, nice and simple. Anyways, outside of those 2 issues, this tent looks relatively good. None of the issues that I've mentioned here are deal breakers. The leaking certainly could be improved, but luckily it doesn't interfere with the inner. Again, the water goes through the stitching and then runs down the fly onto the ground. Or at least that's been my experiences with this tent so far. By the way, folks, it just came to me that I should mention that you can use this tent on the ground if you want to. If you do, though, it has a gigantic snow skirt that goes all the way around this tent. That is going to hinder airflow inside of this tent big time. We have already spoken about the waterproof aspects concerning this tent. Let's talk about condensation and airflow. This tent is amazing. There's so much mesh on the inside, and thanks to the fly pulling away, airflow is abundant. Condensation is kept to a minimal, and for hot summer nights, this is a very good performer. Honestly, folks, I didn't expect this tent to perform as well as it did, but it's fantastic, really. When I took this tent camping, it performed exceptionally well. Heavy, heavy rain all day, all night, into the morning. It was also super, super foggy, but yet, inside, I was nice and comfortable. And that really is impressive. There's not many tents out on the market today that will perform as good as this one. You have to consider, folks, the tent is raised up off of the ground. So if there's even a slight breeze, it will go underneath that fly, go through the mesh, and you're gonna feel it, right? It's gonna cool you down. So in hot conditions, this is an excellent performer. And that really does need to be mentioned here, folks. Again, the cot is off of the ground, so you do have air circulating underneath it. That's going to cool you down too. So for hot conditions, without a doubt, this is a tent that needs to be considered. Talking about space, as long as you're 6'6" and under, this will work for you. The one caveat is that this tent is not very wide. Luckily, there is enough space for you to sit up, put on your jacket in the morning, and then hop out. This is very much a compact one-person tent. With this weighing 12.5 pounds, I wish the company would have done something a little bit different, right? Basically, they've taken like an off-the-shelf cot and they put a tent on top of it. I wish they would have designed this a little bit differently because, again, it's 12.5 pounds. They could have made the cot wider, made the tent wider, right? A sort of like 1.5 person size tent. That would have made a ton of sense because, folks, this is not a backpacking setup here, right? Not at all. This is for car camping, truck camping, and so on. So the weight doesn't matter. But when you're car camping and truck camping, space does. In the end, everybody, I think this tent will work for most people. There is enough space here to be comfortable, right? It's long enough, it's just barely wide enough, and it certainly is tall enough. Since we're talking about weight, I should mention that the company states that this was designed for backpacking and hiking purposes. Forget about it. The cot alone would take up a substantial amount of space inside of your backpack, plus the tent. For backpacking purposes, that does not make sense at all. And with that, everyone, I am done for now. This is a product that is very much in testing right now. In the future, my review will be coming up. This should answer most of the questions that you have concerning this tent. Do make sure to check out the Before You Buy episode concerning the setup process for this tent. Again, I will go over every single step concerning the setup process. I will show you all how to make it nice and easy. That is certainly information that you need to know before you purchase this tent. How difficult is the setup process? As I mentioned, it's not complicated. There's just a lot of steps and it takes quite a bit of time. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, hit the thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Oh yeah. Folks, I appreciate you all making the suggestion to me that I should review this product. This is very interesting. Interesting indeed. More on this in the future. Bye for now. Strength and honor, everybody. Be safe.